G'day, mate, and welcome to The Last Video Store, the show where I, Alexei, a beloved cinephile here in Australia, talk to cool, interesting, funny, exciting, intelligent, inspiring people about their favorite movies, and we do so while exploring the video store, accessing all the nostalgia or cinematic discovery that one found wandering the shelves, and they pick out their movies in the style of an old school video store rental combo. And today on the show, we got one of my favorite filmmakers, Nash Edgerton, on the show. Not just a great filmmaker, one of the great stuntmen as well. Other than a producer, if you've ever seen Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones?
No, and I plan to never see it.
Well,
and nothing to do with Nash. I just don't ever want to watch a Star Wars movie.
That's so nasty. If you only watch one Star Wars movie, make it Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones.
Okay, maybe
Nash
I will.
Edgerton plays Ewan McGregor's stunt double.
Yes, I know. I was reading that. Not from my own experience, clearly, but I was reading that. How cool.
I know, so cool. I love Nash. Mr. In-Between, I think, is one of the best shows ever made in Australia. I think he's a great expert on crime and crime cinema. I remember literally jigging school.
Jigging it?
I jigged school to watch his first film, his debut feature, The Square.
Wow.
In the middle of the day. I left school and went to go see it at Palace, Norton Street. They let a schoolboy in school uniform into the cinema to watch probably a movie I was not allowed to go see.
They didn't make a citizen's arrest?
They're calling it in. We got another jigger. We got a wagger from school. Get him in. But no, I saw it. I loved it.
Yeah. You've recommended it on this show, in fact.
I have recommended on this show, in fact. Yeah, it's a great film, but I think he's just a genius. I love Nash. Love his films. Particularly Blue Tongue Films, a company, production company. They made so many great essential Australian crime films. David Michaud's Animal Kingdom, also stars his brother Joel Edgerton, but so many great films. Love talking to Nash about films. So it's been a long time in the making. We've done lots of Q&As together over the years and stuff, but just one of the coolest dudes.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was so cool.
I'm so inspired by him. I think he rocks.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little Nash story? Years ago, when Cam and I and Henry Stone became friends with him, me and Cam and Henry were like, let's go see Jackass 4 in cinemas. And on the day of, Cam was like, oh, do you reckon it's okay if Nash Edgerton comes with us? And we're just like, yeah, dude, what do you fucking think, man? Yes.
Yeah.
I want these great stuntmen in Australia coming to see Jackass with us? Yes. One of my happiest memories.
That is cool as hell.
I know, cool. And now you'll see it.
Wow.
We're famous buds. Look at the chemistry going off the charts. I'm going to get into the chat. I love Nash Edgerton. And the way we're going to talk about it is going to pick up 3 films. Usually it's a new release, 2 weeklies, and then I give a custom recommendation. But Nash, I really want to talk lots of more classic stuff with him. I go, weeklies only, mate. Sorry, you're cut off. No new releases for you, brother. And so we're going to talk about 3 weekly films. But if you want your own recommendation based on your taste, just like Nash is going to get, give me a new release title, 2 weeklies. I'll give you the recommendation. You just need to send it through as a review on Apple Podcasts. Comment on YouTube if you're watching this. Hit up one of the Instagram posts, something like that. Last video I saw Batuta on TikTok and Instagram. And I'll give you a recommendation. We got one in right now from Apple Podcasts. From who?
From Shell13.
Shelly, thank you so much, darling, for reviewing the show. Pray it's a 5-star.
It is 5 stars, and the title is 5 stars. So she made it clear.
Okay, there we go, Shell. Thank you.
They say, who couldn't love this? Question mark. So
God, okay.
Rhetorical,
From your
sure.
words to the populace's ears.
episode number 1, Alexei and Cameron's rom-com energy is off the chart.
Wow, our famous meet cute where Cameron and I met
Yes.
for the first time in a lonely little podcast studio dressed like a video store.
Listening to this pod is like surrounding yourself in a wonderful warm cocoon of delight and inspiration.
Wow, Cocoon, famous 1980s movie as
Yes.
well, directed by Ron Howard.
God, you know a lot about movies,
I
Alexei.
know every movie. You can't trick me, mate.
My picks would be Oppenheimer.
I love Oppenheimer. Have you seen it yet?
No, I'm not seeing any movies that long. I'm not doing
wow.
it. I know I'm being very controversial this
I know,
episode.
my God, I'm feeling blitzed over here. What the hell's going on?
I've got too big for my boots.
I think so. You got all those Letterboxd followers from the last
Yes, I've
episode?
got about 10 followers.
Oh my God, follow M on Letterboxd. I'll put it in the show
Emmeline_P,
notes.
yeah.
What is it?
Emmeline_P.
There we go.
I
Go
should
on
have
the
made
record
it
too.
better because I didn't know I was going to get any followers.
I'm gonna put it
all
on
10 of them.
I'm gonna put them on the show notes. You can click through.
Well, actually, her next pick is one of my favorite movies ever, High Fidelity.
Really? That's a favorite of yours?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Obsessed with it in high school.
Wow.
Absolutely obsessed. Watched it more than any other
Those
film.
cinema girls hate it. I know you love them, but they...
I know. It's not a feminist film, let's just say that.
That was one of the realest responses I've ever heard from you on the camera so far. I go, there's dude cinema girls hating it. I know.
I love your podcast. I think there's a place for feminism and problematic 90s films. Their other pick is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And just to say, they said at the end, loved 100% of 57 of these conversations.
Oh, that's
Which
awesome.
is a funny way of saying that they love all the episodes.
I like it. It's quite mathematical.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it means they're up to date.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a good one. This is a film that I bet you I'll put on a main episode one day. I've been dying to revisit it. 2018, and I'm jumping off both of their weeklies here. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Great bluegrass soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And then also High Fidelity, which is this kind of almost like this underground world of music, you know, like the record store vibe. This is a movie directed by Ethan Hawke called Blaze, and it's based on a true Texas love story, they say, reimagining the life and times of Blaze Foley, the unsung singer-songwriter Texas legend. I think this is one of the best.
You love Blaze.
I think about it all the time. I think it's one of the best biographical musicals ever. Ben Dickey plays Blaze Foley. Alia Shawkat plays his partner. You have got Charlie Sexton playing Towns Van Zandt. Really, really cool film. But I think Shelley will love Blaze.
Wow. And I'm going to recommend the TV version of High Fidelity because that is a feminist version of High Fidelity and it does pass the Bechdel test.
And Zoe Kravitz, come on the podcast.
Come on. Talk about High Fidelity, that show that was out 5 years ago.
Pick up the original High Fidelity. We can use that jumping off point to talk about it. We're going to get into our chat with Nash Edgerton, one of my favorites. This was a sick chat. We talked about some really good crime stuff, and I have a cool recommendation in my back pocket for this one, which is a film like nobody's seen. Really good film.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Here we go, Nash.
The last video store.
Nash Edgerton, thank you for wandering into the last video store.
My pleasure.
You feel at home on that other side of that chair. Soaking
Do
in,
I?
yeah, soaking in the cinema from all these tapes. Do you have any video store memories? Did you have a favorite store growing up? Place of discovery?
Oh man, I
for you?
remember I guess when video stores started, you know, there was one in Dural where I grew up when Dural Mall was built. I was probably 10, and the video store in Dural Mall. Yeah, I know the first video I hired.
What was it?
Because we had a Betamax player.
Oh my gosh. Alternative at every point.
Yeah, and the first video I hired was an American Werewolf in London.
Oh, one of my favorite films.
Yeah,
How
me
old
too.
were you?
10.
Yeah, far out. That's a great age to being tested to the full limit of what you're allowed to see, right?
And that was amazing. And then my whole next little while was, because, you know, my parents kind of let us get whatever we wanted from the video store. And so then it was just horror, you know, Friday the 13th, Basket Case, Halloween, Happy Birthday to Me, you know,
not enough people pay respect to Happy Birthday to Me and Basket Case.
Yeah.
Basket Case is one of those ones, if people are watching or listening to this have not seen Basket Case, I reckon one of the best horror comedies there ever has been.
big time.
It's about a little tiny mutated fella that lives in a basket and gets traveled around New York
he's first
City.
attached to the main character and he gets sliced off at the beginning and thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
And then he collects him from the trash and
Lives in
then
the basket
they go
there.
get revenge on the
One of the great
The
revenge
Doctors.
movies,
Yeah.
yeah.
what else? Yeah, like The Reanimator and The Exorcist, you know, like
Man, it's so interesting. I didn't expect so much horror to be in your
yeah.
lineage, your backstory.
Yeah, and then, you know, the stuff my mum would rent, which is probably why my brother and I have such like dark stuff in our things, but she was all into revenge movies. So it was like Death Wish 1, 2, and 3. And
Oh my God.
anything with blood or revenge in the title,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, that's great. Death Wish. So mums loves Death Wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mum was a Bad Lieutenant fan. That's
Yeah,
where I got
right.
my interest in crime from. She showed me Bad Lieutenant when I was 13, being like, God, you love Harvey Keitel in this one.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's stuck in my head for the rest of my life.
I bet, dude. Yeah. How old were you when you
always.
saw that?
13.
Yeah, that fuck you up.
Just the right age to see Harvey Keitel's dick as he's wandering around screaming in a church, crying, all drunk.
Yeah.
But Death Wish as well, that tracks. Were you a big Charlie Bronson guy as well back in the day?
Well, I became one, yeah. Yeah, so that video store in Drumore. Like I remember the feeling of going there and then scanning the shelves and then seeing something you wanted and pulling it and there was nothing behind it because someone had already rented it, you know.
Is there anything that you pushed to the limit that even your mum was like, oh, I don't know?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much could take what we want. Like whether it pushed the limits once we actually watched it, you know, like The Exorcist definitely fucked me up.
Yeah.
Like at a young age.
I think it still retains its scariness,
Oh,
The
for sure.
Exorcist. Like I've seen it more than maybe any other horror film.
Yeah.
And it's still, every time it confronts me, because I think it deals with evil in a very specific primordial way.
Yeah.
And it connects everything together in a beautiful, truly existential fear way.
Yeah. I remember Turkey Shoot like kind of scared me as well.
The mutant?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mutant in Turkey Shoot, the big
Yeah.
hairy mutant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what other covers. But I definitely went through all the Friday 13th that were available and all the Halloweens that were available.
Have you ever thought about going into and making like a straight up horror movie?
Yeah, I'd like to do that for sure.
And will you have a mutant that lives in a basket
I
in
don't know
your
about,
one?
I don't know about that.
I think that'd be great. I'd love to see a little Nash Edgerton
Yeah.
take on Basket Case. It'd be great. Castle Freak. What about Castle Freak?
Yeah.
It's like
that
about a
was-
freak that lives in a castle.
Yeah. I was definitely into the Nightmare on Elm Street movies as well. I definitely had Nightmare on Elm Street posters in my room.
Far out.
Like Freddy Krueger just hanging on my wall, you know?
The perfect thing to see just before you close your eyes is Freddy Krueger
Yeah, yeah.
just looking right at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Well, Nash, I'm going to send you into the last video store. We're going to go out, pick some movies, come back, we'll chat them through.
Okay.
And then it'll be up to me to recommend a movie to you.
Okay.
But as you said already, you've wandered these shelves. You've been through the video store. You're watching Death Wish at age 10.
Yeah.
So it might be hard for me to find something that could push you to the limit.
Okay.
I'm just going to
We'll see what
recommend you a
happens.
Human Centipede tape that I've discovered a real one, a real snuff film.
Weekly.
All right, Nash, you've been walking through our weekly section this week, wandering through. You picked out 3 classic films.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this first one here. And when I think about my video store memories, this movie that you've got from Steven Spielberg is the first film I remember picking up from a video store.
Yeah.
You've got E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial.
Yeah.
Adventure.
Tell me about E.T. Why does it endure with you?
Oh, look, I saw it at the cinema. I would have been 8 or 9 when it came out, so I saw it at the cinema and it fully affected me, like one, I was interested in aliens and that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I remember like definitely crying in that movie. Like it was one of the first movies I remember like really messed with me in that way. Because, like I was a similar age to the main character in the film. And, I rode my BMX bike all the time. So there were so many like things that felt familiar. And I lived in the suburbs. And so those things, and it just felt real. You know, like the family dynamic felt real. I think with any of these films that we're going to talk about, and any films that really I connect with, usually within the first 10 minutes, you feel like you're in good hands by the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like something about the scenes feel authentic. And I remember that, like the scene around the dinner table with the kids just felt.
It feels so naturalistic, feels so real.
And so that as soon as you feel like you're in good hands, then you're along for the ride. And then hopefully the film, holds you all the way through.
I think the thing that always surprised me about E.T., because I think I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah.
And like it holds that resonance, holds that power for me. And I think what it does so well is it is the way that introduces you into the world. Like you see the world, you see Earth as an alien landscape first with E.T. and his little buds coming around, coming down and meeting and exploring
Foraging in the forest.
Foraging. They're botanists.
Yeah.
I've read that. They're botanists. That's
Yeah.
what their job is meant to be. So they're foraging around, and you kind of see Earth as this alien landscape.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more familiar when it kind of shifts protagonist. You see little Elliot
Yeah.
and his home life, and that really relatable feeling of being a slightly gloomy preteen.
Yeah.
And he's going through this hard time. His parents are divorcing. I think like the two keys to this film is that naturalism and that wonder that like
Yeah, yeah.
Spielberg's able to bring together. And I always wonder, like, what would it be like if you just start with Elliot and you meet E.T. later? But I think there's something really interesting about going with E.T. first.
Totally. There's also like there's a tension in the film, which I think was very much more consistent when I was a kid. Like films of that nature, like they treaded a line where there was kind of scary stuff, or and the adults are you don't see like the government guys for so long.
Yeah.
Their faces. I mean, you see just like the keys jangling, and
It's a really good film at showing you the world from the kid's perspective.
Yeah.
Like even when you're, like you said, when you see the government people the first time, you're seeing them at like waist height.
Yes.
And it's just like it gives that overwhelming feeling that even if you're an adult watching the film, it makes you feel small.
Yes.
And I think Spielberg is one of those great POV directors at going, this is how you're seeing the film. This is how you as the audience are going to interpret it.
yep.
I'll tell you my first memory of E.T. It was in a video store.
Yeah.
It was picking up the tape and looking at the back. And I've never heard of E.T. Like
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. I would have been probably maybe 4 years old.
Yeah.
And seeing the back of the tape and seeing this picture of E.T. for the first time.
With the glowing finger.
With the glowing finger. It was like a close-up of his head.
Would have been on VHS.
Would have
right?
been on VHS. It wasn't the 4K Blu-ray copy that we've got in front of us now. Not the identical one. And I think it was before, it would have been the original VHS. It wasn't when they did that remaster in the 90s. They
Yeah.
put walkie-talkies in instead of the guns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember seeing E.T., never been confronted with him before, never seeing anything before.
Yeah.
And my brain just telling me, oh, that's a monkey. Because I didn't know there's an alien. I've never heard of aliens. I didn't know aliens are real or not. Just seeing that and it's going, oh, that's a monkey. That's
Yeah.
all. That the only explanation it can be is he's a monkey. And then watching the movie, go, oh, he's not a monkey.
You were rewinding a VHS tape
There's
right
a tape
now?
that's just on a rewind. Wow, that was awesome. That's E.T.'s finger glowing up our spot.
Wow, so you
right
thought it was
there.
a monkey, and you're
I
like,
thought it was a
I
monkey.
got to see this monkey movie.
I got to see this monkey. I got to learn about the monkey.
this
And
hairless monkey.
I didn't know. I thought maybe there's different, because to me at the time, it was more likely there'd be a species of monkey that I didn't know about than
Sure.
there would be a fake alien that people had constructed in
Yeah.
the movie, you know?
Some long-necked monkey
Some beautiful long-necked
with
monkey.
a glowing finger.
And that if I could remake E.T., I would remake it that he's a monkey. He actually is an earthbound species of monkey.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those beautiful movies. Dee Wallace as the mum, amazing in this
So
film.
good. The mum is great.
One of the great like unsung performances, I think, but kind of holding that family unit together. And he's like that Spielbergian thing of he's obsessed with his parents' divorce.
Yeah.
And that is where the emotion comes off. That's where everything comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
I also was telling you the other day about I have an obsession with E.T.
Yeah.
Probably all dating back to the monkey days of E.T. But years ago I found out about like the rarest item, which is vinyl soundtrack of E.T.
Yeah.
But not the score to the film. It has the score to the film in it by John Williams, but it's an audio book basically that is an interpretation of a storybook or novelization of E.T. as narrated by Michael Jackson.
Yeah, amazing.
And in it, Michael Jackson keeps calling E.T. a squishy little guy. Like he just goes, E.T., that squishy little guy. And it came, the version that I've got, I had to track this down because this was the only version that I want to see.
Yeah.
It has a limited edition poster that is E.T. and Michael Jackson hanging out.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing this picture.
Here we go.
I didn't know that's what it was from.
That's what it's from. There we go. E.T. and Michael Jackson, that squishy little guy.
The squishy little guy looks bigger than Michael Jackson.
Yeah. I think he's got the neck fully extended with MJ to just stand over his head a little bit more.
Wow. And so you have listened to The Thing in full?
I've listened to The Thing in full. It's
Multiple
great.
times?
Multiple times. It's one of my favorite things to play on, sit back, relax, have a little singing on the balcony, listening to MJ and E.T.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful because you
Is
get
E.T. in there as well? You hear his voice? Or does MJ just
I think you
imitate
hear
him?
some sounds. MJ kind of does every voice.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like he will describe going,
How long
he
is
did
the
this.
running time of this?
It's a full album. I think it's just one disc, but you flip it.
Yeah.
You got to flip it to get the full story. You can't just let it go halfway. But it's great. It's MJ.
Wow.
The way they describe the most magical moment is when they describe that time where E.T.'s at home and he's drinking the beers, and then Elliot is at school, and Elliot's feeling the drunk side effects. I had never put it together till MJ just told me. I never realized that was what was happening.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
And so how old were you when you heard this album?
I hate to tell you, I'm 31 years old, I guess.
You didn't know that
I just
that's
couldn't
what was
figure it
going
out.
on?
What? No, I thought he was a monkey
They're connected.
I thought he was a monkey for years.
That's one of the greatest moments in the movie, I reckon,
It
when you start
absolutely
realizing
is.
how connected they are.
Now I know how connected they are, and hopefully I can have that same connection one day too. Do you have any other thoughts on
I want to know
E.T.?
who pitched that idea.
To MJ?
Well, yeah, like did he pitch it or did someone pitch it to him? Like what brought those things together?
I have no idea. It's one of the great mysteries of this time.
And how many copies did that album sell?
Well, the version that I've got is quite rare these days,
Yeah.
but it still can be found out there to anyone looking to get a piece of cursed media. That is one of the great curses.
He's obviously a huge fan of E.T.
Absolutely, he seems like an ET-like guy.
Yeah.
they've got a lot in common. I'd say childlike wonder, the way they see the world.
Wow.
But it's a wild little thing.
Yeah.
And even there's another. Who was it? Neil Diamond has a song about ET.
Really?
Yeah, it's like "Show Me Your Heart Light," and it's about ET. And it's not in the movie. He's like, I'm so inspired by ET, I'm going to make a song for ET.
Wow. Did they make a music video for it?
Not with ET. I think he didn't get the rights.
It's called Show Me Your Heart Light?
I think it's called Heartlight.
Heartlight.
And it's called, and he sings Show Me Your Heartlight. It's a beautiful Neil Diamond song.
Wow.
Inspired by a little monkey.
I'm learning
alien.
so much.
I know too much about ET, but only the extracurriculars around ET.
Yeah.
But I love it. One of my favorite movies. Every time I see it, I just go, wow, that's
so good.
beautiful. Perfect film.
Yeah, well, the joy, I watched it the other night because I showed, my 9-year-old for the first time, which was so fun to do.
How did she take it?
She got right into it. It's interesting because, like anytime my wife and I say we want to watch something with her and we want to watch something from our childhood, she's like, usually like resist, but then loves it.
That's great. Because it's always hard when you're showing someone you love, and especially I can imagine it must be hard with kids because it's so films are so different to what they would be watching now. Yeah. And like pacing wise, effects wise.
Oh, yeah.
Something like this, I feel like the magic must be retained, right?
Yeah, it was great. It's interesting. I remember showing Ghostbusters to my eldest daughter when she was around around 9 or 10. And she's like, the effects aren't very good. I think she was into the movie, but she was like yucking our yum a bit.
Yeah, of course. Well, you got to give mum and dad a hard time, especially if you're showing them Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They're about Death Wish age now, mate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that'll go down well with my wife. Let's dig out some Charles Bronson movies for the 9-year-old.
Come on, kids. Let's watch The Mechanic tonight. Let's get into it. But that is E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Do you have any other final thoughts on the film?
Oh, no. It's just like, there's certain films you grow up watching that you just will return to multiple times, or if it's on, you can't stop watching it, I just think there's so many beautiful things that, like, you're saying, the family dynamic just feels so authentic.
And it just works so well. Like, even like when we talk about like the perspective of the kid, when you're seeing this world through the kid's eyes, you're seeing the stakes of a child's life, where it's like all the stuff with his parents and his family, and even like between his mum and his older brother, it's kind of glimpsed. Yeah. Like, you're not getting the full story, but you're getting enough of the emotional beats of those glimpses that just let that resonance like kind of hum throughout the whole film. And even when he's in school, you kind of feel that he doesn't even know how to communicate with his teachers because there's that barrier there and
Yeah.
stuff. It just is such a good like perspective into that world.
Yeah. I think the other thing that really stuck with me at the time that felt foreign, but I was the Halloween, like, you know, that they go dressed up for Halloween, because it just wasn't a thing when I was that age here. Like it is more so now.
It is
for
now,
my,
right?
for my
Yeah.
daughters, but it seemed so different.
Did you
And-
want to do trick or
Oh,
treating?
totally. And eventually my brother and me and another friend, we did start trick-or-treating as teenagers. But because it wasn't a thing, we would dress up and then we would just go to people's houses that we knew.
That would have candy.
Yeah.
They're prepared for you. Like, okay,
Well, they
we've got
didn't know
these
we were
teenage
coming, but
boys.
we would actually like trick-or-treat
even
people we
plan it.
knew, because like it wasn't a thing. So at least we could, you know, we could freak them out, but then we knew them.
What
know?
were you dressing up as? Basket case?
No. Well, my friend was working as, my friend Adam he had a job dressing as the green gremlin at 7-Eleven, like for the Slurpee gremlin.
What?
You know?
Wow.
So he had that costume. So he would
Like
hang
from
on.
Gremlins.
No, it was like this. It was like this in the late 80s, early 90s. There was this mascot for the 7-Eleven.
Wow.
And he would dress. He had that costume, so he would wear that. And then my brother and I would just make, you know, like I think I had a pair of shears and a stocking with holes and, you know, and an army jacket. We looked like some kind
Yeah,
of.
that is horrifying.
Yeah.
If a gremlin and then a guy with a stocking and shears in his hands over
Yeah.
the door, I'd be like, yeah, I guess you can have some white
Oh,
candy.
we totally like freaked out some my friends' parents and stuff. But people didn't really have candy, so like we would get like Tim Tams or
Beautiful.
yeah, whatever they had in their fridge. you
That's
know?
great.
Yeah.
A few mammy noodles.
Well, I
we're
remember we
excited.
went to certain friends' houses and then like some teachers' houses and stuff like that. And we went after, because here it gets darker earlier. Like
Yeah.
There it's like, because it's spring. No, what is it? Autumn. It's the fall for them.
It's the
you
fall
know?
for them. Famously, you've got those crunchy leaves as they're wandering around.
Yeah. Anyway, it was, but we went at dark and freaked people out.
Wow. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Now that's exciting.
Yeah.
Shall we continue in our streak in
Sure.
the 1980s?
Sure.
We're going to go to John Hughes with Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
One of the greatest.
Comedy.
Films of all time.
I agree with you. I think one of the best comedies of the 80s, the best kind of teen comedies. I'm not even a big John Hughes guy, but I think this is an absolute masterpiece.
Such a great film.
Can you tell me about finding it for the first time?
Yeah, when did I see it? I don't even think I saw it in the cinema. I think I saw it. I got it at the video store. It was something I heard about. I don't remember how big it was here when it came out, but man, like the moment I saw it, it was just like so resonated with me. And
Were you a teenager at the time?
yeah, I would have been, yeah. And yeah, it just struck a chord with me, and I've seen it so many times, like I can quote the movie while watching it. Like it's just one of those
Karaoke
things.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like you just know every
Volume
line
off,
of the
let's
movie.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And what really gets me about this film is like it is another great film about like the world of teenagers. We just
Yes.
go, it gets that world so well. But the thing where I think this movie transcends, because it's very funny, it's got this great lead performance
Yeah.
by Matthew Broderick.
Great heart to it.
Great heart to it, and the friendship between him and Alan Ruck, like that is great.
Yeah.
Him and Mia Sarah, the relationship, that is great. Like that trio is amazing. But when it transcends for me is because it's on this, like their day off is their adventure.
Yeah.
And where it transcends, where the day off becomes something powerful, is when they go to like the Chicago Institute of Art.
Yes.
And they have this moment where they're all transfixed by the art. They're all like in awe of it. But then there's this moment where Alan Ruck's character
He's just staring at the painting.
staring at the painting. It's like that. What is it? The pointillist kind of painting of it's called, what's it called? I know it's like picnic at the lake.
Yeah,
or
and he's just
something
looking
like
at the
that.
child.
And you're just looking at it, and it's like that is the moment where you go, oh, this film understands something on a really deep level.
Yeah.
And it understands, like it just so beautifully captures that moment of being completely moved by a piece of art.
Yeah.
And staring at something and it's staring back at you.
Yeah.
I think the way that sequence builds is just beautiful.
It's like he sees himself in the painting and
it becomes more abstract the closer it gets, where you start seeing, at first you start out wide and it keeps getting closer and closer in on the painting and in on him.
Yeah.
And you just start seeing the actual brushstrokes. You start seeing how it comes together.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of the most magnificent moments in any film.
yeah. It's so good.
And it's what makes everything work better. Like, because
Yeah.
if a fun, silly comedy can have a moment like that works, it makes everything feel more powerful, more resonant.
And so many great adult characters too, like Ed Rooney and his secretary and
Yeah,
you know,
there we
the
say
other teachers.
the great Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah.
Knock on wood while we say it, cross our fingers. But it's one of the great villain performances.
Oh, totally. And then the battle between him and Ferris, and then the battle between him and Jeannie,
Yeah.
and Ferris's sister is like,
And I think as well, like, it captures a great feeling of city, like the way that it starts out in the suburbs, then they go into the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
I think there's something about that of just going like, this is more than just a day off. This is like a full-on adventure. This is an exploration. This is a meaningful day for these people.
Yeah.
That transition from suburb to city and then back to suburb, where I don't know, I've never thought about it this way before, but when they go from the suburb to the city and then they come back, it's with renewed energy and vitality.
Yeah.
And there's that great chase sequence where Rooney is trying to get home to beat Ferris to his home, and Ferris is running through those backyards.
Yeah.
There's something about that where it just goes, oh, we are fully going broad, we're fully expanding in a way that comedies are sometimes afraid to do, where they're afraid to go beyond reality.
yeah. It's not Rooney it's trying to beat him there. It's Jeannie.
It's, yeah.
Because she's like been picked up at the police station by her mom. And she spots him on the way back, and Rooney's already there waiting.
He's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so good. Have you showed this one to your kids yet?
Yeah, last week. Or
How'd
a
it
week
go?
or two ago. Oh, yeah. Well, I'd shown Chico, my eldest, like years ago, and she loved it. But then I showed Zumi, my 9-year-old, like a week or so ago, and she was very into it as well.
Does the comedy still work?
Oh, totally. Totally. She was very into it.
And I think this is the one for me, like I'm a little bit...
The soundtrack's so great, too.
Great sound and great use of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like the Beatles song, the Twist and Shout, where they're like at the parade, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and Dunkershane.
Dunkershane, amazing.
Wayne Newton.
I think the one thing that always weirds me out, and apparently this is real,
Yeah.
like they go to a baseball game in the middle of the week on a school day.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah, right.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what they do in America. They just have normal sports during the week and you can just go instead of going to work.
So good.
But that's it. That's the lifestyle that they have. And I just remember, I love that Charlie Sheen cameo performance.
Oh, man, so good.
It just like, man, no wonder he
every small part in that movie is great.
Mm.
And like, look, I've had anytime I see someone from that movie, it makes me feel warm inside. Like I watched A Real Pain the other day. And Jennifer Grey's in that.
Yeah.
Playing one of the people on the Warsaw
On the
tour.
Yeah.
I remember I met I can't remember the actor's name now, but the guy who the garage attendant. Ed.
I know this actor as well because he's one of those ones that every time he pops up. Oh, Richard Edson.
Richard Edson.
Yeah, Richard Edson.
I met him once at a friend's house in LA, like must have been 15, 20 years ago.
Did you let him park your car or you didn't trust him?
No, it would have been over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I just remember being excited, like, to meet someone from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
And then, I had the pleasure of working with Alan Ruck. He plays a small part in my film Gringo. And that was a joy.
What's he like to work with? Because I think he's
so
such...
great. He has such amazing comic timing, and
he's just like one of those actors where you can feel like he can slot into anything,
man, he's
right?
so great. He's so great. I'd work with him anytime.
Beautiful. Love Alan Ruck. And great face. Great cinematic face. And especially, you know, when we think about that moment we're talking about, that shot reverse shot, it's like you can read anything on that face.
Yeah.
Beautiful actor.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of the greats, my favorite John Hughes movie, and I hate some of the other ones.
Yeah. And one of the best films that breaks the fourth wall ever.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those ones that it changed the way a lot of films broke that fourth wall.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think without Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you wouldn't have Wayne's World the way you have Wayne's World, where it almost becomes a documentary the way they talk to the camera.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, Deadpool is the obvious example of how it works, but I think
they do a Ferris Bueller's reference in.
They even do a Ferris Bueller's reference in it.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any other movie that has such a significant impact on how films talk to us in an extremely literal way. I mean,
But again, like from very early on the film, you just know you're in good hands. The moment Matthew Broderick starts, you know, like that scene with the parents when he fakes out, you know, the little interaction with him and his sister, and then when he starts, like when he says they bought it, you know.
And it's another example of, for me, something that I think is often forgotten is that style can be funny.
Yeah.
And this is a film that has an extremely beautiful and pleasing visual aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like the shots are all very clean. There's like a crispness to the way they present, the way they shoot everything, the way they present everything. Even like to the production design, it's very clean and very like sometimes lived in, sometimes not. But they capture everything in a very nice, crisp way. And I think that enhances so much of the comedy because it allows the performances to get bigger, to be beyond what the frame is capturing.
Yeah.
But people should learn from Ferris.
Also, one of the best uses of two lines on a phone from back then by a teenager.
Now we're going to do that with Zoom calls. That's the next step.
Yeah.
Have someone hidden on the Zoom call. Well, that is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of the greats. And now you've got something from the crime genre here.
Yeah.
Probably an underseen crime film from 1978 from Belgian filmmaker Ulu Grosbard, starring Dustin Hoffman. It is Straight Time.
Yeah.
Crime.
People might not be familiar with this one. How would you kind of sum up this film?
Well, essentially, it's about a guy. The film starts with someone who's just been released from prison, and who, you know, has to check in with they're on parole, their parole officer, and it's just someone trying to stay straight, and get a job, and live a normal life, and it doesn't go very well.
Yeah, it really does such a great job of capturing like the chronic struggle of once you're in a world of crime, you cannot escape it.
Yeah.
And it captures the need to continue that life to survive, and also the tragedy of not knowing anything else.
Yeah.
And I think it's Dustin Hoffman's best performance in this film as well.
Yeah. It's like one of his best for sure. And there's a scene early on, you just go, all right, we're in good hands. Like the first scene with him and his parole officer, just like you just feel the tension between them and how hard it's going to be for him to stay on the straight and narrow.
And it feels emotional straight away.
Yeah.
Like you feel so much empathy for that character.
Yeah.
I think partly would probably be the casting of Dustin Hoffman, a likable guy who constantly, at that time in the 70s and the late 60s, kept on defying what category you could see him in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you see him in The Graduate, then you see him in Midnight Cowboy,
Yeah.
then you see him in Little Big Man, then you see him in this, you see him in that. He constantly defying how you saw him. But what stays consistent is there's some care for him.
Yeah.
And I think having him in that scene, you feel so sad for him. You feel so tough for him. It immediately creates empathy for criminal that you don't often feel empathy for.
It feels so authentic. Every element of the crime stuff in it feels so authentic.
And it is, of course, based on the memoir of Eddie Bunker.
Yeah, who's also in the film.
He's in the film, and he basically, through this film, becomes the preeminent crime consultant in American cinema.
Yeah.
Of someone who's lived a life of crime, has tried to go straight, I guess he does go straight because he starts working with Michael Mann on Thief and becoming his crime consultant all the way up until he's in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And
As Mr. Blue.
as plays Mr. Blue. And he's someone who's so consistently throughout this genre of how to bring that authenticity to it.
Yeah.
What do you think that does to create this kind of authenticity to a film like this?
Look, it just makes, I think it just makes the crime stuff feel accessible, and that the characters in there, as much as they're criminals, are having same life struggles that anyone else is having, like he's trying to date in there. He's just trying to get a job. He's just trying to be a regular citizen, but this is what he knows. It doesn't feel black and white in that way of, certain other crime films do to me. Like there's just an authenticity to it and the interactions and a logic to how, it makes sense that what he's doing, you, as the audience, you're just going, well, yeah, I guess that's what he has to do next.
And it pays off in raising those stakes as it goes on and on.
Totally, yeah.
Like when you get to that climax where they're robbing a jewelry shop.
Yeah.
And
him and Harry Dean Stanton. So great in the movie.
I mean, the casting feels authentic.
Gary Busey, Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, first time she's probably ever been captured by a camera.
Yeah.
And these all feel like real people.
Yeah.
I also remember being so impressed the first time I saw this with Teresa Russell.
Oh, she's so good in the
who
movie.
plays the love interest. I don't think I'd seen her in anything else when I saw this film.
Also, the way they tread that line of her, like, dabbling with dating this guy who she knows has just come out of jail.
He's bad news.
Yeah, and like when she starts asking him what he's up to, and they have that whole conversation in the apartment about whether she wants to know, and how much she can handle, and that she wants to hang out with him until she knows she can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, I think it's just it's an elegant performance from her.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, I mean, it seems like pretty clear lineage from this to Mr. Inbetween. Like, what is the influence of something like this in creating something that's probably maybe a bit more overtly a crime comedy, but with really real stakes and really real naturalism to everything around it?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I first saw Straight Time, but it's definitely, I'm sure had an influence on me. I think I was probably trying to make Mr. Inbetween before I'd seen that, but all the crime stuff that influences me is probably the stuff that has an authenticity to it. My whole thing with Mr. Inbetween was that, I wanted Ray to feel like he could be a neighbor, and I feel like growing up, the people I knew had done some stuff, criminal stuff. They still felt like regular people to me. They still had a sense of humor. They still, as a kid that, like, I remember I crashed my mum's car in our street.
Wow, very Ferris Bueller's Day Off as well.
And there was a guy up the road that, who lived further up the street than I did, that helped me out. I remember he was really friendly, but I knew, like, the rumor was he was, like, this place, they did a bit of stealing cars and chopping them up kind of thing. And I remember thinking, oh, well, for a guy that's a criminal, he was very friendly and had a good sense of humor, and, and that whole thing, I think, when I was making Mr. Inbetween, I just wanted everyone to feel like fully rounded, real people that had normal problems too, And
I think that's one of the things that really works for me with Mr. Inbetween. But when it comes to Straight Time as well, it's like it's giving you that humanist touch.
Yes.
Of being like, everyone you're seeing is a person.
Yeah.
This is not just some evildoer that's anonymous, that's here to get you.
Yeah.
This is someone with a fully rounded life that has problems that are same as yours or worse than yours.
Yeah.
And this is the way they exist in this way.
Yeah, like when he goes around to Gary Busey's house.
Fuck, everybody's in this movie.
Yeah. And, and Kathy Bates is his partner, and they're, and when Busey's character goes to put the kid to sleep or put him in the bedroom, Kathy's like asking him not to come around anymore. Like it's kind of heartbreaking. And, like she's just trying to keep him on the straight and narrow and,
It's just like it captures there's nothing that captures the cyclical nature of crime than the way this does.
Yeah, and they're just like tiny little slip-ups that all compound. Busey's character coming and taking drugs in his, his apartment is what leads to him getting arrested, not being able to go on the second date with Teresa Russell's character, and everything just puts him back on the path of crime.
And I think that's something that's like quite magical about this film. I hadn't even thought about it until you're putting it this way. Like it is so real, it's so natural, it's so authentic. It feels improvised. Like it feels like a Cassavetes film.
Yeah.
The way you kind of talk about it, go, no, it's a really intricate plot. Like all these things have to fall in place, but it captures that from a feeling that goes, no, this can and really does happen to people every day in America and in Australia and the country, around the world,
And like Harry Dean Stanton's character is like, he's clearly gotten out of crime. He's living an okay life, but he's bored. So when Dustin's character Max comes around, he's kind of like, get me out of here. Kind of, he wants to dip his toe back in.
He wants that
but
taste.
He's clearly like has rules that he lives by, which is why he's on the outside. And then soon as Max is just can't help himself stay a little too long in the bank or stay a little long in the jewelry store.
He gets that greed, that taste.
Yeah,
he just wants to go further.
That annoys, or when they're going to rob those guys at the poker game, and he just he's impulsive. He just wants to go and do this no matter what, even though they haven't got the shotgun yet. And Harry Dean Stanton's like trying to be voice of reason, and of course, it doesn't work out well for him.
It just has incredible atmosphere. And I was looking up what the kind of pedigree behind this as well is. Michael Mann serves an uncredited co-writer on this film. And you can see that lineage from him starting here to the kind of crime films that he makes.
Like Heat.
Heat, of course, like when the way we're talking about like going straight, with about Heat, you've got that incredible storyline of like the line cook who's gone straight, and it just seems like a weird B plot that's unconnected until the moment you go, nope, he's involved in the heist.
Yeah.
They bring him back in and he can't escape and he's trapped in crime again.
Yeah.
And then immediately after this, Thief is a few years later with Eddie Bunker as well. And that's like such a great one too of this is so grounded and gritty. And Thief is as well, but then it's just that little bit more stylized. It's a little bit of that, less of that kind of neo-realist noir that this film has and goes a bit more into like that neon noir space.
Yeah.
And then I was looking up Ulu Grosbard, who I thought I'd never seen another film by Ulu Grosbard, the director of this movie, which is always strange because I think this is a beautifully directed film. How have I never seen anything else by him? What he did before this, he comes from Belgium, he comes to Hollywood, and he starts eventually working in Hollywood as an AD, an assistant director.
Yeah, right.
And these are the films he was an assistant director on. Splendor in the Grass, the Warren Beatty film, West Side Story.
Yeah.
Then we start kind of getting into this space, The Hustler, Miracle Worker, and then a film that I think is maybe Sidney Lumet's unsung masterpiece, The Pawnbroker.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how he breaks in. And then I've seen at least two other films that he's made. One called Falling in Love, which is Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, romantic kind of drama from the 80s. Lovely film. But then recently, in the last couple of years, I saw this film that he made in 1995 called Georgia, which I'd never heard of before, but I got sent a Blu-ray of it. And Georgia is like this beautiful film that I would also, this is not your official recommendation, but I'll tell you about it as well. Don't take this as the custom recommendation, but it's like this tough look at these two sisters that are working in country music. One is like a more accessible star played by Mare Winningham, great actor. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh as her more kind of addict sister. Okay. And it's just both of them incredible performances from both. Ted Levine's in it as well. But it feels almost like the precursor to something like, I don't know if you saw this film in the last 10 years, Her Smell with Elizabeth Moss. And it's kind of like a take on Courtney Love and Hole. Oh, yeah. But this is like, it feels like a real precursor to that, but from like a country alt country perspective in the 90s. Great
Okay.
movie.
Yeah.
Movie. And if you like that more than the recommendation I do give you, you can take that one too.
Okay,
We'll
cool.
swap them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Straight Time, Ulu Gross Bard. Any other thoughts before we get into my recommendation
No, I just think
time?
it's, if you haven't seen it, I just think it's worth checking out. It's one of the great crime films. And then because you mentioned Sidney Lumet, like also one of the great crime filmmakers
Absolutely.
of, like his films are so consistently good.
Oh, right up to the end, mate.
Yeah.
Right up to the end. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's one
So
of his
good.
best movies. Probably the best final film a filmmaker's ever made.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Amazing. Ethan Hawke, Marissa
Yeah.
Tomei. Dare I say more?
Yeah.
Laura Linney's in it, I think.
Yeah.
If I have to say one more.
Staff pick.
All right, Nash, we're at that point where I'm going to give you a recommendation based on your taste.
Okay.
I did take on, I reckon Straight Time was the one that I really latched on to
Yeah.
here. There is no alien monkey in this film, is what I'm telling you. But I really want to give you something quite gritty in this crime film. This is one from 1987. It's an English crime film that I think is really underseen, really underseen, but really gritty. It's a film called Bellman and True. Have you heard of Bellman
No,
and True?
I haven't.
Crime.
It stars Bernard King, who is from Titanic. He's from Bernard Hill. Sorry, it stars Bernard Hill, who's from Titanic. He's from Lord of the Rings. He's from Shirley Valentine, one of my favorite films filmed in Greece.
Wow.
But this is really gritty crime heist film with a great tagline. My favorite kind of tagline, which is 4 short sentences separated by full stops.
Yeah.
They kidnapped his son. They forced him to steal $14 million. Then they made their biggest mistake. They trusted him. And this is just like great down and dirty heist film. It feels that kind of same kind of grimy, hold it up, hold that beautiful tape up. Has that same kind of grimy naturalism as Straight Time.
Yeah.
And he plays Hiller, a computer security expert who was bribed by this group of bank robbers to obtain the details for a security system at a newly built bank. And then he's got the information. He thinks he's clear of these people, seen them for the last time, but they trace him and his son down to London and they hold his son hostage and force him to decode the information of these alarms and take part in this robbery. Really gritty geezer heist flick that finds so much character in England at this time as well. Like that kind of dreary feeling of England in that kind of late freaking industrial vibe. And it's also made by George Harrison as the producer with his handmade films. Who at this point in time, 80s and 90s, are making so many great strides in independent film in England. They made With
Munchausen.
Nail and Eyes, Munchausen, I think.
Monty Python stuff.
Yeah, more the Monty Python stuff, but it's all that like from handmade films, like just going, that's what we want to do. We want to make great stuff in England and English films. But you look back, there's so many great films that George Harrison had his hand in bringing to life. But
He also, it almost looks sci-fi with the hazmat suits.
there's some hazmat suits. It's interesting because it's got like this low tech feeling, but then there's like all this computer stuff, these high tech things that are going on, and having this old, literally over the hill Bernard Hill guy being the one to help crack these codes. It's great, and it's kind of the same way that Straight Time and even like Ferris Bueller, the way that kind of keeps elevating the stakes. In this one, the stakes keep being elevated, but every time they're relieved, there's a revelation. It makes it feels like a bigger bummer. Like it just goes, oh my God. Like the same way at Straight Time, you just go, oh shit, I feel worse. Like as this film progresses. But what I really want to pass this on to you for is this film has one of the greatest second long shots of a stunt that's just unbelievable at its climax.
Okay.
If you want, see it in the show, see it in the movie. I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah, save it.
But there's a great car stunt and a great car chase in a Jaguar, like a proper 1970s big English Jaguar.
Yeah.
And there's I would say quite a Ferris Buellian aspect to this, where they are going the back streets in like this kind of country beach town. And there's a moment where they get this giant Jaguar, and to try and dodge the police, they go up an alleyway, and the car is too big to get out.
Yeah.
So the way that this starts building tension is they keep backing in and backing out until the car crunches down to be the right size, and it feels so real. Like you can't fake this shit.
Yeah.
They just keep going in and out until the car squeezes inside to get through this alleyway, and just feels so good. And then the next 1 minute, the best stunt in a chase scene you'll ever see happens.
Cool.
I think you'll really dig this. It's called Bellman and True. It is made by a filmmaker called Richard Loncraine, who also directed Richard III. Oh, this great movie called The Haunting of Julia, Band of Brothers. He directed some of the series. And also Firewall with Harrison Ford.
Wow.
And Wimbledon with Paul Bettany.
I've never heard of this. I'm excited to watch it.
I think you'll really dig it, mate. Nash, thank you so much for joining me here in the Last Video Store.
No worries. Thanks for
My
having me.
pleasure, my dream to have you in here. We talked DT, we talked Straight Time, we talked Ferris Bueller, and you're going home with Bellman and True today.
Awesome.
Thank you, mate.
All right.
Love to talk flicks with you, brother.
Cool.
The Last Video Store.
My sincere thank yous to Nash Edgerton for joining us on the show today. I love Nash. Watch his films. Mr. In-Between, watch it. It's like the best TV show ever. If you love crime shit, if you're a Sopranos head and you haven't seen Mr. In-Between, you're joking.
The hell are you
yourself.
doing?
You're robbing yourself. You're the criminal because you're robbing, but you're also the victim of the crime too. Great show. Gringo's sick. The Square, so good. I love The Square. All right, what am I on? Watch all his movies. But in the meantime, catch up with us. We're on Last Video Store Batuta at Instagram, Last Video Store Batuta on TikTok, and I'm posting on the TikTok again these days. But I would give an actual shout out to the Instagram. I've been doing this thing where I'm putting together my own little playlist of films based on like a big new release that's out. Did one for Wolfman where I put some underrated and underseen werewolf movies out there. Did a vampire one around Nosferatu. Did a biographical one that I did mention Blaze in when Better Man came out. But like kind of offbeat recommendations. So good way to save them. Sorry I made that noise.
Yeah, gross.
That was my mouth that made that noise. Really, it was a natural sound coming out of my body just then. But thanks for hanging out, gang. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube. Spread the word amongst your friends. This is still a relatively new podcast, and I would love to take over the world via this show.
Yes, please tell a friend. That's probably the best way we can grow as a podcast and keep making episodes and doing what we do. So if you could share it on wherever you share things and tell a friend, that would be amazing.
And hear the desperation in Producer M's voice.
Please,
Hear the
please.
desperation. Let's get it out there. But thanks for joining us. I love movies. I love you, dear listener. And I love Nash.